Hi, welcome back to the Carver's Wood Shop. This is Arlene once again from Honeybrook, and I want to thank you for joining me. We're going to do the Leprechaun next. The Leprechaun is an ornament from the ornament series. We're using the blocks that are 2.5 inches tall, 1.5 inches wide by 1.5 inches wide, and then you taper it off about midway. I taper it off to about 1 inch at the top, so I take it through the bandsaw that way. So this one was a lot of fun to do. I did this out of just out of curiosity, and a lot of people liked it. So, and I sold a few of them. So it has come in really. It was a really fun project to do. What we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and start by putting our markings. So I always start a lot of my carvings with the hat. Okay, with the hat. Placing the hat to me is probably the important thing. Then everything fits around it. You would think it would be the opposite, but because the hat is such a focal point on a lot of my projects, like the Santa hat and this one, and the hat for the eagle, I find that doing the hat is really important. So let's start here. What you need to do is to go down about 1 inch and mark it. So this mark is going to be the bottom part of the hat. And then I go around and this is about another 3/4 of an inch from the bottom to 1 inch. And then on the back, you can bring it down just a little bit lower if you want. It's a better idea to do that way. And then I usually measure this side with this side. Okay. We're going to mark that off. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight down from one line to the other. One. Make sure you have your thumb guards and your gloves on. I use thumb guards. It's best if you're a beginner to always use a glove. I didn't have that when I was first doing this 30-some years ago, or almost 40 years ago now. And it definitely makes a difference. All right, it will prevent a lot of cuts and stuff. So just mark these from one point to the next. All right. So now you see our where the hat is going to come out of. The next thing I do is I put the brim, okay, or the bottom part of the hat that sticks out all the way around. I go up about 1/8 of an inch or so, and I mark it, and I just do another line right, like a parallel line right next to it. You don't want to go too thin with it. If you do it too thin, it's harder to, you can't put more to it if you need to later, but I usually put 1/8 of an inch all the way around. All right. And the first place I start is at the top of the hat, not the bottom. I start pulling this part out right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to go at an angle, okay? Not straight in. It's going to be at the same angle of where the brim of the hat is going, just like so. And then I'm going to cut it out. Now I did soak this a little bit with the solution that I use a lot. Notice I'm pushing with my thumb down. That's really a good way than doing it with your hand. You have a lot more control over it, and the knife won't go too far. So what you want to do is just start chopping a little bit out at each, and you go with the angle of the brim of the hat. Okay, so do that. And this one here, I'm going to go a little further. And these come out pretty far, so you just want to kind of look at it and go exactly with the flow here. So, all right, just like so. All right, that's what we're looking for. All right, then what I usually do, you can do it two ways. You can do either a stop cut, taking your knife and going across like this, and then coming back and cutting it out. I like using the V-tool. If I can find it over here, here it is. I take the V-tool and I just go above the line there, or I go right on the line. And I turn my V-tool so this portion is flat where I want it to be flat. So I'm going to take this down. And I'm going to do each one that way. You want to try to keep your hands out of the way. Notice I always rest my thumb on my piece when I use my... See, it doesn't go anywhere if you slip. Usually it doesn't. And then I go back with the knife and I make it deeper. Okay? And let's see if we can bring that up. Just let me try something here. Let me make that a little darker. Okay. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and take our knife and we're going to go around each one, and you're going to cut it in deeper. Alright, so that's all going to come out. Alright, or you can slice it out. I like slicing things out. The only thing with slicing, you don't want to poke your point into the hat if you can help it. You're just going along that stop cut. Alright, so we're going to go do this deeper later, but this gives us a good start. Now here, what we need to do is we need to cut all this out. So, oh, I'm sorry, the one thing we need to do is do the slant of the hat. Okay, this is a little bit rounded. You can keep it completely flat if you like, but I like it a little bit rounded. So I go down about 1/4 of an inch and I mark it. And that's how far from here to here, you're going to go straight across that corner. All right. That's kind of a, but what I do is I go straight across. Now, you can cut this down a little bit first if you want. You know where your corner is, you can pull some of this off already. Some of this has to come out a little bit. You don't want to go too far here because this has to go at a slant here. So, you know, you got to kind of play with the front a little bit. And just bring this down a little bit. One way of doing it before you start is to put your line across the center and then do an oval shape here. You know, from corner to corner you do an oval shape. Okay, and take those corners off, and that's how you're gonna, like the dowel you need to make. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to cut right up to that, and then you can do that slant. Whichever way you want to do it, there's no right or wrong way of doing it, but as long as you, and we're going to go right up to that, and this you don't take too much off, because remember, all my stuff is really square. It gives it the illusion. I'll be right back, folks. Okay, we're going to keep going with doing the hat. I did the oval part where you cut it up near that line, that circle that you made at the top, that oval. And now we're going to go down a little ways, okay? So we're going to go down about 1/4 of an inch. If you want to mark that with a pencil, you can do that. Right here. Alright, so somewhere close to that. That seems pretty steep. Let's go about maybe a little bit above that. And we're just going to cut across. Now, the nice thing is if you make your stuff kind of wet, you know, you wet it with that 50% rubbing alcohol and water, and you soak it a little bit, it works really good. So we're going to just cut this off. Let me get a different knife. I use different knives. This is a better one to go across. And I want to take that hard stuff off, that rough stuff. I'm going to go down a little further. And you keep going until you get it to an angle similar to that. Okay, we're getting there. So you just keep going and slicing from one side to the other. And just make sure it's nice and flat when you're done. Okay. Oh man, I want to go a little bit more. I'm going to do it back here for a second. Now I can chop a little more off. I have more leverage holding on to it closer to my body. And so when you get this all cut down to where you're comfortable with it, all right, we're going to flatten it out. See, it's kind of perfectly up and down, parallel. So we're going to take these bumps off of here. And we're also going to go deeper right here, because these are going to stick out quite a ways, as you can see here. Okay? I don't know if you can see that or not. Alright, so you're going to chop out a little bit, and you're going to work it up and flatten it, just like so. Okay, so that would be like one side. And you're going to do all four sides like that. Now, the one in the front kind of tilts a little bit to the front. So we did pretty much there already. We're just going to take a little bit more off up here. And then go down. And then you can go back and cut it after you do that. Alright, just like that. A little bit more. You want a nice amount of room there because you're going to round this off later on. Right, and same thing over here. Whoops. My electric's going off here. We have a really bad storm coming up this way. But if it does, the generator should kick in about 15 seconds after here at the farm. So, hopefully we won't lose it, because it costs so much to run that thing. My dad always wanted it. It's still here even. You know, I would have gone to something a little bit smaller, but it runs everything. And I'm kind of glad it does. It just costs a lot to run it with propane. And that's what we have. It runs on. Okay, so there we go. And now here you see this here, that has to be trimmed down a little bit. So you're kind of making a dowel, all right? Making a dowel all the way around. So I'm going to do the rest of this offline to show you. Well, this here, it's the same thing. You just take this off, take all that rough stuff off. There you go. And then you're going to cut this in a little further and just make it nice and round. And as round as you can make it. It still has a bit of an oval shape to it, but and you're going to take off at least 1/8 of an inch or more on the sides. So I'm going to trim this down a little bit more, go back around it and do it offline. The next thing we're going to do is the front. Now this is very careful. You have to go down in the same direction. Alright, we're going to look at this, and this is where the nose and stuff is going to go. So we're just going to do a little notch like that. We're going to do it again. I'm going to push down with my thumb on one side and the other. So you do one in the middle, and then you do either side to start rounding it up a little bit. Now this is going to go down quite a ways yet, so it's not But you don't want to take this completely off because that's where your nose is going to be. And I often find when you have little fat noses, they tend to be cuter than, cuter than a skinny nose. All right, so that's one. Then we're going to do the next area. And we're going to just go very carefully. You want to do a little bit at first, and then make a bigger cut later, because you don't want to push all that. You don't want to clip that out of there by accident. Again, in the back, same thing. See, and that's pretty deep, and I don't dare to push any further until I have that cut. I'll see if I can cut that out and clean it up. There you go. And this side. Okay, after I get that done, I take my hefty little V tool again, and I do all these sides again. So I go right underneath the line. I do a couple of strokes there. One. And do a little bit first. You don't have to do it all at once. Nobody says you have to take all these chunks of wood off at one time. You're whittling or you're carving, you're taking little pieces at a time, which is fine. And the last one. Now we're going to go back with the knife, but this just helps you get a good start on it and make sure that it's nice and straight. You can do it with just doing a stop cut if you don't have one of these. That's also fine. Okay, let me bring this up a little closer. There we go. Now, what we're going to do here is I usually try to figure out where, I'm going to round off the bottom just a tad, meaning the portion here. I'm going to start coming in a little bit at each corner, just like so. All right, just like that. So rounding the face a little bit. And I round the front around a little bit. I take this edge off, just a little bit. This is like the preliminary, starting to round it up. All right. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to make this a bit smaller all the way around so we'll be ready to put the belt on, or the buckle on there. And then I'll have this probably drawn out where we need to put the nose and the eyes and all that. Okay, so we'll be right back. Okay, now I finished rounding the top. Now you can go in a little bit to make it go in a little bit if you want. That's up to you. I prefer to leave it kind of round because when you put the belt on it, it will look like it goes in a little bit. I don't know what I did with the other one. Oh, here it is. Let's bring it over. And, it gives it that illusion. So, what I did was I drew the buckle on here. That went on first. I kind of measure the same distance from each side, so the buckle's right in the middle. And then I did a little square in the center. And from there, I went ahead and I drew the line that would be the same distance from the brim of the hat up for the band around there, the black belt, or whatever you want to call it. And the buckle sticks out a little further, a little higher. Okay, so once you draw that on, we're gonna go to the nose next. Here I'm gonna just draw. You want to go not quite halfway between the two. Actually, it could be halfway between the top of the hat and the bottom, but a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch up higher. Okay, and you're going to just draw a line like so. You're going to take your finger and measure. Like I like a nice big fat nose, so we're going to do it this way. All right, and then over here you want it kind of wide. You don't want it really skinny at the top there. So I'm going to go kind of over here. And I'm going to bring it out and see how far I am there, to there, to there. Okay, that's about right. And then we're going to bring it out and around. If that doesn't look right, we'll go over a little further. In fact, I'm going to trim that down a little bit. Sorry about that. All right. Now, again, we're going to try to find where the center is here. The center is right there. We want the same distance from each side. You can trim that off later and then come down and around. It should be the same size there to there. Perfect. Alright, so that's your nose. So what you're going to do, your eye's going to have to come in here too, right? So let me just make sure it's long enough. It looks long enough to me. And we might have to sweep it a little further, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to go straight in, okay? Straight in like this. I'm not going to go this way. I'm not going to go this way. I'm going to go straight in like I'm looking at it, head on. And that's how I'm going to, well, we're going to do the bottom part of the nose first. Okay, so we always do the bottom part first. Take that out almost to the flush, and then I take it over a little bit and I do each corner. And we're going to round this off a little bit. Alright, so that's where our mouth is going to come. So now we're going to look at it from the front, and we're going to go straight in. We're going to come down right alongside that nose, and then we're going to go up underneath the brim. We're going to cut that a lot further too. Oh my goodness, folks, it's windy. We're supposed to get like 60, 70 mile an hour winds with some snow. It's a northeaster, they call it. They're wicked. I'm glad I don't live upstate New York. You guys are getting nailed. Upstate New York, there, it's supposed to be a foot or more, maybe even more than that. Okay, so here we are, and I'm just starting to dig it out a little bit. So that's where our eye is going to come from. When we do our eye, it's going to come out further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to sweep this up all the way to the end there. And we're going to go a little bit deeper. You can do the same thing with the other side of the nose. So I'm going to turn it upside down. It's easier for me. I'll go from over here down to the brim of the hat. Alright, now see how far I have that stuck in there. You can do a little bit at a time. It's up to you. And it should be pretty straight. Okay, so I'll pull that out. And I'm going to cut this out at right where it meets here. This is your deepest part on the eye. It's up in the corner. Alright, that's just a chip there. And then I'm going to just take my knife and I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, it's going to have to go deeper, so I'll do it again. And we'll come down a little further. Alright, and now I go all the way around the hat there. I'm scooping this section out right here. Alright. Alright, so I'm going to trim this off a little bit over here. Alright, so I'm going to clean this up a little bit, make it maybe a little bit deeper, and then we're going to, well, let me take care of the nose now. We're going to trim the nose down to the bottom, like so. Alright. And trim that little, and this is going to be a little bit deeper, so we're going to recut this at the top. We're just going to start scooping it out a little bit, just a little bit. Just like so. Alright, so now we have a little bit of a curvature. We have a little bit of a top of the nose there. Then I'm going to trim this off a little bit all the way around, and we're going to make it deeper around the cheek later on. You just want to get that nose a little bit rounded and take all that rough stuff off. We don't have to do it later. And it's a nice big nose. That's what we like. Big eyes, big nose makes it look cute. Alright, so we're going to take that off of there. I'm going to clean this up a little bit more. And I think we're pretty well as deep as we need to be. This side might have to be a little bit more. I'll go back and take care of that. But meanwhile, you want to take all this hard stuff off, this rough stuff, before we start putting the beard in. Okay, you're going to round this off a little bit. Take all those hard edges off too. Okay, good. And you want to do the back part of the hat as well. I mean the back part of the head. You know, it gets pretty simple when you get back here. It's not too bad. You want to be careful not to cut all this off, because that's going to be like the beard portion. I did a little bit more on that side than I should have, so I'll try to match it up a little bit. And here again, you're just going to trim everything off. Okay, we're going to go much deeper under here yet. We're not done with that yet. So we'll be back. I'm going to do some cleanup, and then we'll put the eyes in and such. We'll be back. We're back again, so let's keep going here. What I did with this, I trimmed out the nose a little bit more. So I went around it and just dug out a little bit more around it. So what I did was I took my knife and I went around it, and then just did a very close little V cut right next to it, as you can see right there. Okay. What we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and put the face in. First, we're going to put the beard in. Alright, so the beard is going to stick out a little bit. So I usually take my finger and my thing here and mark it one spot, and I do it on the other side as well. Okay, hang on just a second here. Okay, so what I ended up doing was making a mark on both sides here. Alright, there we go. Let me see if I can lock this in here. Nope, I can't lock that in there. Okay. Anyway, so we have the same. So what I do is I just make a U, a big U, and I go to the edge, not all the way down, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so, and I come all the way back up over here, just like so. Alright, so that's how that looks. Then I take my V tool. I love the V tool. And I take it and I just follow that line all the way around as close as I can. One, and then I go across. You want to leave something there because you want a little bit of a beard going around. Alright. This is the first step. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to take it and I'm going to go ahead and cut from the beard side. I'm just going to put a stop cut at an angle like the V tool was, and go all the way around, back up, and then I'm going to come back and cut a little bit out. Okay. Alright, so that's what it should look like. Then after you get that done, you want to take care of that hard edge a little bit. You don't want to just trim that down all the way around. You want to get rid of any kind of rough stuff on your carving. The wind's really whipping out there, folks. It's a bad storm out there. Hope everybody's staying safe. All right. And we're going to just trim this out a little bit there and there. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we need to put his cheeks in. Okay. So his cheeks go right up near underneath the nose a little bit. So we're just going to do a little bit of this. I like to curve it a little bit there at the end. You know, I don't want to complete it just a straight line. I want a little bit of a curvature like that. Perfect. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take it, I'm going to take that out a little further. I'm sorry, a little bit further out. There we go. We're going to take the V tool again, and we're going to, what we're going to do is we're going to take it and we're going to go right up like that. And then I'll do it later with the knife a little bit better. Doing it with the V tool prevents me from doing it always with a stop cut. Just makes it a little easier for me. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go from the cheek side. We're going to lean it the same way we did. And we're going to come up here and just go to the bottom. We're going to do a little cut there, and we're going to just take this out. Just like so. We're going to trim that out a little bit. Then I'm going to come back, flip it over, and get rid of that hard edge again. So this looks like it's being tucked underneath the other. So this is going to come down a little bit more. All right. And then we'll do the other side the same way. Oh, it's already out. Oh my. Maybe I should get out of the trailer here. Things are really getting bad, so. Okay, so we've got both of those trimmed off a little bit. I'll do a better job when I get off of here. Now we're going to do the eyes. The eyes, we'll do the mouth last. The eyes, you want to go where it starts turning on the nose here. Okay, where it starts turning on the nose. And then we just want to just do a nice big half circle like that. Okay. Same thing over here. You kind of want to look at it, kind of match it up. See where I have it here? I don't know if you can see it. The pencil's kind of light. There. Okay. Now we'll go over here and we'll do the same thing. All right. So what I do here a lot of times, folks, I spray it a little bit with my spray solution, especially when I do the eyes. You make sure you have a very sharp knife, and you can do it two ways. You can do it with a little V tool, like this, or you can do it with a, so we can do it with the V tool, because that's a pretty big eye, so we're just going to go one side, and the other side, just like so. And if you don't have a V tool, you can just put a stop cut in there. If you don't have one of these, you can go to my online store. On my web page, you'll see a thing saying tools, basswood. You can just go click in there, and these I sell individually or in a pack. All right. And what I do is I take my knife and I go up there again. I lean it the same slant as the V tool, and then I cut up here just a tad. I want to round that eyeball off. Take that little corner out, and then we're going to just take that out. See if I can get that out of there. There we go. And that's our eye. Okay? That's all that's to it. We're going to do the mouth yet, and we'll be right back. Okay, we've got the eye done here. The eyes are finished. The cheeks are finished. So what I need to do, just give me a second here. I've got to find my one little tool here. I don't know if that's here or not. To do the nose. Yeah, here it is. I use a G2 to do the nose. A G2 is very, very teeny tiny little gouge. And what I do is I just kind of measure where the center is. I go on either side and I just put a hole. Push it up. And give it a little bit of space. And I'll pop those two out. 1, 2. Now they don't pop out, like that one didn't pop out, I go back and do it again. It's a little hard for me to do it in front of the camera because I can't hold it up close to my face. Okay, so that's how we put the nostrils in. I'll clean that up more later. Now we're going to put in the smiley face, okay, his lips. So I'm going to bring this down just a little, well, let me take this down just a little bit. It's a little bit sticking out too far for my liking. So let me just take this down a little bit. All right. All right. Now, we're going to just go around and put a little bit of a smiley face on him. Alright, just like that. And we're going to just take our little V tool, we're just going to do a little V cut. Just like that. Perfect. Now, if you want to make that a little bit deeper, you can. You can leave it the way it is. I usually go underneath the lip here and just scoop it out a little bit. Looks like a lip sticking out. I don't know if you can see that or not. But that works out pretty good. And I just slowly go around and clean it up. The top, I don't do too much to it. I'll just leave it as it is. And that's his face. Alright, we're going to go back to the hat. What we do here is we trim, just take a little bit off. Just round off that corner just slightly. You don't want to hack off too much in the corners. Actually, back here we need to cut a little bit more off. Okay. Alright. So, here too, we're going to cut this out a little bit further and clean it up. Now, we're not done with the beard yet because the back side of the beard has to be in here and the hair has to be separated. So let's just pull some of this off here. There we go. Okay, we shortened it up a little bit. Alright, now, what we're going to do is we're doing the corners. We're doing all the corners here. Just trimming off that hard corner. Alright, that's pretty well all you want to do. And then what I do is I take my knife and I start taking off that first hard edge. Not all the way to the center, just about a third of the way. You're just going to trim it on both sides. You'll have a little flat spot right here in the center. If your knife is sharp enough, you should be able to go in any direction. Alright, and then you're just going to take everything off here. Just slowly take a little bit of the edge off. Now you're going to do the bottom part as well. This has to be cut out a little bit further. And it's pretty close. See, it's not real deep. All right. So that's how that's done. And then I go back and I go very carefully. I slice that hard stuff off, that rough stuff. I take that off. And there we go. And this corner has to be done yet. There we go. And then once you get both sides done, then I kind of just take the next edge and I just kind of, just to make it look a little rounder instead of just square it off like that. See the difference? Now it looks rounded versus this side, okay? Now it looks rounded versus this side. All right, so we'll go back, we'll do this again. Okay, so you do the whole hat. I'll do that offline. The other thing you want to do is you want to take your pencil. We're going to go back down to the beard. And after I cut this out a little further, I'm going to put a little thing like that. So that will look like the beard. And I take my hefty little V tool. I have both V tools available. So I use them interchangeably a lot. And the G2 that you saw earlier, I do have that in a set for dockyards. I only have a few here at a time. I don't put a lot of money out for it. I'm not in the tool selling business, but a lot of people would like to use the tools that I use online. You know, what I have in my videos. So I try to make them available. And I can get both of them now. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. Go to my online store. You'll find that on my website. And it'll be listed there. So I'm going to go a little deeper here. Okay. And that's what we're looking to do. And then we'll round off those hard edges. And we're going to do the same thing over here. And when we come back, we'll do the hat. And we'll do the beard. And then he'll be done. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're about to finish up most of this now. So up here where we took care of everything here. The lips are done. Everything's finished. What we're going to do is we're going to do this little thing up here. So the first thing I do is I go over the top here, okay? Let me see if I can get this to, let me see if I can focus that in a little bit better. There we go. We're going to go across right here, all right? And then I'm going to just bring this down a little bit. That's a little stop cut. We're going to do the buckle first. And I do this up here, and this over here, straight in. And I follow that with the tip of my knife so it sticks out, just like so. And this side as well. There we go. And then I go straight across on the inside of the buckle. And I do it this way and this way. Now this is a little tough to get to. So you want a little pointed knife to get in there and clean it up. One side, and then I flip it upside down. Get the other side done. Now if it doesn't come free, I go back and I recut everything, okay? That's really important. Then I come up and do the bottom portion. I need a little bit smaller knife to do that, but you can get in there and do that. Let me take care of that back here for a second. I don't see where it's not freeing up here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I take the tip of the knife and I do the top portions a little bit, flick those out, and then kind of straighten things out a little bit. Okay, so that's the buckle. Then what I do is I take my little V tool again and I follow this line all the way around. Okay. At this point, there should not be any hard things at all. I'm going to use my larger one. It's a little handier for me to use. It's the same tool. It's just got a longer wings on it. Just a little easier for me to hang on to for this. There we go. Now you want to go up to about the same place it is on the other side. Bring this down a little bit. There we go. And there's that. And then what I do is I take the knife and the reason I do this is when I go to paint it, the colors don't usually bleed if you put a stop cut. Now, you got to be careful. When I paint, I'm going to do a video on painting later on to really explain things a lot more. But what I do is I go from the top and I just trim it out a little bit. Alright, all the way around, flush it together so it looks like it's not just boom. See how I have that? We go all the way around with that, like that. Okay, and then I go around and I just clean everything up, smooth it out. Same thing with the belt. I try to smooth things out a little bit. Like right here, there's a little bit of a bump. We take care of that. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and put the beard in. And I'm going to show you parts of it now, and then I'll finish it up offline. So really, it's pretty simple. The only thing we need to do is his beard and his hair in the back. His hair comes straight down and it curves in a little bit. And then this is how I do the beard. Now let me just clean this up just a tad here because I'm not real happy with that until I clean that one corner up a little bit. And alright. So what I do is I usually spray it a little bit when I start this. And then I take my bigger V tool. I'm going to sharpen this up for a second. Just bear with me for a minute. Should be ready to go. So what I'll do is I want it to flare out, okay? I want it to flare out. So what I'm going to do is I usually do it towards the face first. I want to do it like a sun rays. And I go back and forth, and that should go. That little bump there should not be there. That'll look weird. Okay. And then what I do here is I just continue flaring it out. I kind of follow this pattern all the way out. I do the outside. I kind of know what's going on there, and I kind of go back and forth and, you know, go a little deeper here and there for some contrast. And that's how I do the beard, alright? I'll show you more of this after it's all done. And you take care of all the flat sections there. Then the next thing I do is I do the back side here, and all this is going up underneath, and I go crisscross back and forth a little bit, and then I work my way towards the bottom a little bit at an angle, okay? So this will go flare out this way, this will flare out the other way. So when I come back, we'll have this all cleaned up, and I'll show you and tell you the painting portion of it. We'll be right back. So when you do this, just continue on, and then when you get here, you flare it to the other side. And then the beard, the same thing, what you did over here, you'll do over here, and you kind of go down straight down at the bottom. We'll be right back. Okay, this is our last video of our leprechaun head ornament, and it's very simple, just green, and I use gold for the buckle, black. For the eyes I used white, dark gray, blue, black, and a dot of white. And then I use a flesh color, and then I mixed a little bit of red with it to give you the fleshy look and doing the lips. And then I use burnt sienna for the hair. Alright, and black for the buckle. That's about it, folks. It's not difficult to paint. They're kind of fun to paint. And so that's what we ended up doing. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. And thanks for your support. And I do appreciate it. Alright, take care. And we'll start another project very soon. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.